Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. No matter where you're watching us from around the globe, I say thank you for allowing us into your homes and most importantly into your hearts. If you're watching us on the DBNA television network, a sincere thank you and please continue to support the network, the amazing talent, and these wonderful sponsors. If you're listening to us in podcast form like I know you need to be, Coach Barton and I say turn that knob up and let us put that flavor in your ear. That's right, it's time to lace them up with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. We had an hour of just amazing conversation that we could not stop. This is part two of the conversation with my buddy, my friend, Coach Charles Barton. Coach, welcome back to the show. There's no way we could stop what we were doing because we were just getting into the meat and potatoes of all this substance of European basketball. So let's get right back into that conversation talking about Arvydas Sabonis, Dino Raja, Peja Stojakovic. It's so good, Coach. Take us back to that press conference where, they're like, Coach, you're a glorified loser. Get right back into that story for me.
Well, we had just played Yugoslavia, and like I said, their talent was enormous. And when you're sitting there, you're thinking, are they really this good? Because it's not like I was having a reference point all the time where I was seeing the NBA.
Yeah.
But my mind was telling me, this is unbelievable. And I knew the coaches, and I knew that they had the same window for the national team games that we did. And it wasn't long. It wasn't a month. It wasn't even 2 weeks. It was more 10 days, maybe, not even that. Okay. And to see them be able to coordinate and play the way they did, it was absolutely fascinating. So my mind, sometimes, I must admit, even in the game, was like, how do you teach that kind of basketball? How do you get to that kind of understanding of the game in such a short? Are we doing too much in Sweden? Is it more on the skills fit around the players? And it was amazing. Okay, so like I said, I come up. For me, we've lost to an NBA team by less than 50. So I'm happy. Okay, so we come up there and they're not happy at all. Well, I said, well, this is just ignorance and in some way arrogance that you think we should have been closer than this. And I remember, and because in those days, maybe partially because of my humble way of being, I spent a lot of time over there in the Balkans because I realized they're teaching something here that I don't see in other places. I knew that. And I went there and I listened to those coaches. And, so our national team also got to play against them often because we tried, we competed. We didn't come there and throw in the towel and stuff. We were there, there and there, but it was good enough. Okay. And I remember one time we played and Petrovic missed a free throw in the game. We lost by 30. Okay. We were in Maribor or something. We lost by 30. He was brilliant, but he missed a free throw. Maybe he missed two. I don't remember. But when we came out, he had coaches there and he was shooting, man. He was shooting free throws. He wasn't shooting shots. He was shooting free throws. And he was still knocking them down when we walked out the door. And I said, this is a monster, man.
Wow. Well, and you think of those teams, Coach, and the years that they had played together, the chemistry that they had. They knew where each other liked the ball, where they wanted the ball, where they could get them the ball, where they could be successful, to have that efficiency on the court. And other teams, not saying that they're lackluster or, inferior, but boy, just the skill level and the chemistry and the continuity and the flow of a game back then, you were witnessing, the coming of age of what the NBA is now, because finally it took time for the American game to be like, you know what, there is talent abroad. And we see it now when our national teams go play against the other teams, because think about it. In America, Coach, and I know you know this, it's so glorified, and it's so, we have this ego in America that, hey, our game is the best, and we have the best marketing, we got the best players in the world, and all of a sudden, in Europe, you know the Olympics is monetized, and it's all about money, and it's all about sponsorship and the television dollar. Well, in Europe, the world championships are what these guys want because they want to represent their country, and they have pride in that. And think about it. It's hard to sell American players to go play for your country after you've had an NBA because we call them world champions when they just won an NBA title. They're not no
Yeah.
world champions. I mean, we can get into that whole diabocal too, but it's just amazing to see European talent, and I'm so glad that European, Latin American, and the Asian talent has infused itself into the game. But boy, we still, it's the best game in the world, and the fact that we now infuse it with European coaches and European talent, it's helped make the brand and the product so much better for the spectator and the fans.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I saw the short roll out of the pick and roll, okay? It was not Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
I saw it from a team, Olympiacos. When I was coaching, they were using it, long before I saw teams in the NBA use it, where the guy didn't just automatically ball screen and dive hard to the basket. He took one step and the pocket pass was to him, and then he made the next pass.
Wow.
And because those centers were taught a certain skill set where they could do that, okay?
Right.
And these things came up, and I said, well, man, how are we going to handle that? This is when I was in Greece, But there was another thing that I saw people, we gave them, the dream team gave Europe, we created basketball in Europe. And I told people all the time, that is one of the most insulting things you can say. I have pictures from Greece, from Yugoslavia, Russia. Hey, man, the game was alive and well long before the dream team showed up in Europe. Before that.
Think of the 72 Olympics when America got knocked off, of course, Doug Collins and that group, and was beat by the Russians. Hey, that right there should have been the eye-opener, but there's more, oh, no, it was controversial, and they stole the game from us. Come on, man. There's great basketball in Europe.
Great basketball. And, I remember the first time when I went, one of the first times I saw a lot of young European coaches sitting on benches in Las Vegas at the Summer League. And it's not a coincidence that a lot of the things meshed together it was slowly coming in there. And I mean, that's not an insult to the United States. Nobody owns anything. I mean, when I came to Sweden, the United States made the best of a lot of things. We don't make the best of anything anymore. I mean, the best car might be here, the best TV might be there, it might be all over the place. This is not something unusual. I mean, this was bound to happen. Really was bound to happen. I mean, so like I said, I've seen pictures where it was absolutely packed in these different countries. They love their basketball. I mean,
right.
In the Balkans, basketball is NFL level, for example. It's just top of the shelf. And I noticed, I mean, a lot of guys that I would have from the Balkans. I mean, their basketball IQ was off the charts, man, and it made my job so much easier because I had communication with them. Okay, if we do this, what do you think? Where would you, like when you said to that guy, where do you want to shoot this? I use that also. What do you think will happen if I give you the ball and he does this? Where do you think those other guys should be? I mean, where would it be to make you comfortable? And someone would say, no, not making me comfortable. This is where they have to be. Okay, let me see, And then, and then they would bring a certain flow to the game. And it was, legitimate. I mean, those guys were not. No, some of them were fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Absolutely, and the coaches too. Obradovich, I mean Obradovich, you know him obviously,
oh, great
and I
basketball mind.
mean
Yeah.
his personality would not allow him to coach in the NBA. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's not because of his skill set.
That's right. Yeah. His
I
knowledge.
mean,
Yes.
his mindset. Messina could
Oh, Ettore.
easily. Yes, I mean, Ettore is brilliant, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, his mind is like, I listen to him and I'll listen to some of his clinics and I know him with friends, and I said, Jesus, man, what am I doing, man? I mean, I couldn't go on the floor after that guy. I
Wow.
wouldn't do it. I mean, if he gave, even if we were at a clinic where there were different coaches, I'm not following him.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'll go in front of him and do something that I might feel comfortable with. I'm not following him.
Wow. Coach,
Yeah.
when I hear you say that, just the respect that you have because you know the knowledge that they have and the depth of the detail and the specifics that they have. Give Coach Popovich here in the United States with RC Buford to have success with a small market NBA team to infuse that European system. Because think about it, you had Tim Duncan from the Virgin Islands, you had Manu Ginobili, from Argentina, you had Tony Parker from France, and yet and Coach Popovich was smart enough to change the game with the level of players that he had because he had it built around David Robinson first, and then it was Tim Duncan, and then allowing Manu Ginobili to come in with that quick first step, and Tony Parker, who played an unorthodox style of basketball to the American
Yes.
system, but yet they changed the system to fit the players, but yet you had European assistant coaches on the bench with him, and look at the success they had because again they played team basketball. The ball didn't get stagnant. Players weren't having to exert as much energy on the floor going one-on-one, dribble, for an 82 game season, and that system worked year after year. So give Coach Popovich credit for having that foresight and to have the mindset to be able to have communication and have relationships and trust in those players as they developed into the franchise that they became. Because then all of a sudden, Steve Kerr, now head coach of the Warriors, underneath Popovich, he had to steal some of that. And now they play with space and pace and allow players to do what they do well. But there's so many levels of depth to peel that onion to make it work. And those are discussions that I'm enjoying having with you, Coach.
I mean, you talk about Kerr because that's one of the guys that just, and I see all these moves, and he made the players he already had better during the summer. That whole nine, and you were aware of that. But I watched the game they were playing, and the talk was about Westbrook and LeBron. And I said, Jesus, man, why are you wasting your time talking about that when they got beat by the Spurs? Okay, I mean, you can say whatever you want. I mean, LeBron is what he is, and but I don't want to talk about the Lakers. Look at the way that San Antonio was playing, but instead they come on there and they try to denigrate San Antonio because it's not Duncan in them anymore. But don't give me that, man. Look at how they're actually playing, and it was brilliant. I mean, I didn't fault LeBron and them or the Lakers because they couldn't beat them. They weren't good enough to beat that basketball that night.
That's right.
That's what
night.
the
That's
problem
right.
was. I mean, I don't want to hear about their passports, their age, and Westbrook's turnover. They weren't good enough to beat them that night. How about spotlight? But there was no names there that probably they thought people would want to hear about. So they went to the same garbage. That's why sometimes the media they're not believable when they turn these programs into freak shows the way they do,
Yeah, I'm with you, Coach. I'm with you. And I'll tell you what, and I think you've noticed kind of a passive aggressive way with my, interactions that I have daily with some of the posts that I put out there. And I'm just eager to hear what people will say because sometimes it fascinates me to their lack of knowledge, to the depth of things that are going on, and they just have those knee-jerk overreactions to to things that it takes time, and there's a process to building. So I hear what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. Again, I think you and I are very like-minded when it comes to the game of basketball and players and player development. And I can remember you a few months ago talking about how you feel, you know, to have more player development coaches on your staff and how productive that would be. Kind of talk about that a little bit, Coach.
I mean, I noticed at some point that the role of my role as a head coach, it was only in a certain area, that you feel the attention and the, like, you feel your importance to the players if you've allowed yourself to open up to that. And I started to notice that these guys that were teaching them how to play, in the end, we're all selfish. And the players are noticing that this guy's teaching me how to play. Well, I can't really do that, I mean, I'm not teaching players how to dribble and pass and when they should do it, but a real good skill guy who can not only do me, you, and the ball, but me, you, and the ball, and the other player, okay? And maybe the next player. That guy that can do that, he's absolutely as valuable as a head coach. He has absolutely the same value, because it's possible to pick out plays on a computer.
Yeah.
It's not possible to get in there and teach something so that you get the players' confidence in the same way with the skill stuff,
That's right.
And once they, if you get a good, if you give me the right staff, I could coach till I'm 90, man. Because all I have to do is make sure that I psychologically get these guys on a mature wavelength. We're going to be together, talk to them like men or young men, whatever they might be, young women, if it's that case. And you're connecting them that way, more on a human level and a love of the game. And these other guys are doing the real work. Yeah. I mean, you get a great physical guy, because there are physical demands in the game now too. Even though they're not boxing and knocking each other out like they did in the 80s, you have to move, cut, recover, get back. Your vision has to be wider. There's a whole, hey, give me the guy that can help with that. The skill guy, I can handle the rest,
Yeah.
Because
I love that. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, because I see the things that you're doing, with your Barton clinics. I mean, you've had a coach, Rex Kalamian, come over. You've had a coach, Adam Philippi, come over with shooting mechanics and shooting instructions. These guys are the best of their best. You've had Jeremy Boswell come over with skill development. And I love that you take it to that level, because you're expanding the vision of what basketball is and how it's being taught now. And I love that you do that for these coaches, at your clinics.
The clinics are so much fun for me. And I swear, Scott, every time I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wow, man. I mean, when Adam Felipe was there, I say it almost gold, every time, because every time it's true. He is a beast, man.
Yes.
And, he got out there and he was teaching them but he doesn't only teach that. He teaches you how to teach, how to coach. Don't correct every single time. Let them have some kind of self-awareness. Let them make mistakes without having eyes on them all the time. The guy was beautiful, man. And, phenomenal. When I also try to encourage people that, they will hear about me over here, or you, or somebody like that. And of course, okay, there goes Scott Hills, man. Look he was a head coach. He's in China. He's strutting down the sidelines. But there's also a value of being that other guy. You might not get all of that thrust upon you, okay? Like that spotlight. But if you're with a good guy, he's going to give it to you anyway, okay? Everybody knows who my assistant coaches are. I easily can step behind them, I have no issue with that. And I would like for people to want to dedicate yourself to being a great assistant. I have a couple assistants now, and I said, well, I warned you about the dark side where me and you have been, okay? I told you, I
Yeah.
told you how it could be over there, man. It's not that pleasant, and you're a top assistant, but it's not enough for you, you know? But okay, I mean, I don't want to take away somebody's desire to be that guy in the big chair, I call it, okay? But there's a dark side to the big chair too, and this other thing, there's nothing like being around a free thinking, enthusiastic assistant who really knows his stuff, man.
That's
I
right.
mean, they bring so much positive energy to the group, which we just can't do sometimes, okay? And I mean, I noticed the players' reaction to these guys, and my respect for them just gets bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on,
Yep.
because I'm thinking, man, if I had a staff like that, shit, I could coach the Bulls, I mean,
That's right. Yeah.
these guys are doing so much stuff that people are not realizing,
Yep. And
and
coach, you know what I think it is, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there's so many coaches that have insecurities to have that energetic, passionate, purposeful guy out there who comes with all that fire in his gut because he's afraid he's gonna, lose, lose some credibility or something. And man, it's not about that. As long as we can
no,
empower players to be the best that they can and provide them with the tools for their toolbox to help market them and give them a better longevity of their career to make money to support their family. That's what it should be about. We got to get rid of these coaches that are insecure and don't want these, great guys around them or feel like that, their egos are just they're not in the right place. You got to surround yourself with people who are good at what you're not good at.
and you know what? It's honestly, the players, they will thank you.
Oh,
And to
amen.
your listeners, I'm telling you, I have no reason to lie to you. On more than one occasion, my players have said, thank you, coach, for allowing this coach to work with us for 40 minutes and you take 15. And they've said it. And when we go out there, they're playing hard and nobody knows what really transpired in the gym. I know, the players know. And they've said to me, I really needed this. And now what do you need from me, coach? And they're running through the wall. You know what? I found that the more I coached, I realized the less I actually had to have my voice in the forefront during the practice. My voice got smaller and smaller and smaller. and I would be around and I have more time for this guy individually. I could walk and whisper in his ear and have a conversation with these two, and all of the time
Amen.
somebody else is running the ship.
Yep.
And
Amen.
and you know what? I actually felt better
Yep.
because I saw that the quality of the practice was better. And isn't that what we're there for? Like you
That's
said,
exactly right. Yep. When
So
coaches can be more the CEO and not have to micromanage, but yet delegate and allow coaches to do what their strengths and their skill sets are, when it all comes together, it's all about the end result and the outcome. And if you're providing positive outcomes and you're giving players tools, that's what it's got to be all about. We have to get rid of the mindset of the disease of me and that ego from these coaches, man. We got to squash that.
oh, you absolutely do. And I mean, I would think that nature should have taught these head coaches that, because you're only lying to yourself if you've inflated your position that much. Because if you're
Amen.
looking around and you see a real quality assistant coach or two and a physical development guy and tons of great players,
Yep.
and you somehow in your mind can put yourself above all that,
Ooh.
I mean, then there's something wrong with you. You're just denying what's right in front of you. Because if you're
Amen.
really honest and organic, it will show you that this is a necessity, you know? The
Amen.
game will
Amen.
show you that itself, you know? You
Yep.
won't have to be, some future thinking type of guy. It's
Yeah.
right there in front of you, you know?
That's right.
This
Coach,
is
I'm
the
telling you what.
best way to do it,
Yep.
and let's go with it, you know?
That's right. Hey, I believe, the analogy, steel sharpens steels, and one man's candle does not go out by igniting another man's candle. I am all for that because the more I'm around the game and I've continued to evolve and I continue to, read and listen to, guys who are just phenomenal at what they do, in basketball, it feels like coach-led teams can be good, but player-led teams can be phenomenal. But you have to
Yes.
empower those players to, have that ownership in their team and say, hey, this is your team. I'm going to help you lead and guide you and mentor you through this. But man, what do you want? And what can we do to help you with the skills that you're going to need so that we can, have the desired outcome to win the championships and to get bonuses and to provide you with longevity where you don't have to exert as much energy? Because, coach, that's where coaching is, where it's really all at. And there's so many guys that miss the target by a mile on that.
Oh, they miss it, and like I said, for me it's easy
Yeah.
because for me it's easy. I started out a little bit deficient. I've done things. Okay, nobody's
Yeah.
taking my title. They're not gonna come and move my shit from me, you know. But I
That's right.
mean,
Yeah.
I still have my trophies, and they're not going to go anywhere. And the one year we had a team. We were trying to go to the top league in Sweden. We were 24-0. Okay, in that 24-0 season, there was at least 5 or 6 games under 3 points. And then there was another 4 or 5 that was 4 or 5 points. So you're talking about 45% of the games, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and because the guys were so into what we were doing and invested in what we were doing,
Amen.
it wasn't a piece of cake, but I mean, it was made easier by them. It was one of the greatest things I ever experienced, and it wasn't in the top league. It was in the second league.
There you go.
But the way those guys were more and more, and I said, man, I should write a book about this season,
There you go.
about not about the 24-0,
Yep.
but how we got to the 24-0. Okay.
Oh, coach, you should do it because that's legacy stuff right there because that's empowering. And then when you share that knowledge and other people can pull from that, man, that's what it's all about. Because, coach, you and I could sit there and talk about, successes that we've had and championships and cups and trophies and medals. But man, isn't it truly about the relationships? Because I mean, look at us right now. You and I are sitting here having this conversation. I'm a Caucasian guy from, central Indiana. You're an African American in Sweden. And because of this beautiful game, we were able to have a relationship and build a bond. But man, what we're doing right now, this is what basketball is all about.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I say that all the time. But these don't destroy this. Like don't call the NBA champions the world champions. They're
Right.
not the world champions.
That's right.
There is a world champ. We play for the world championship somewhere. Don't insult these other countries and belittle them. Basketball is for everybody. Don't do that. I mean, who did I hear? I heard well, they can draw garbage into it all the time. I don't like that. I
Yeah.
really don't like that. I mean, just let it be what it is. And I remember admittedly I'm a huge Steve Kerr guy. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not only his basketball acumen, it's him too. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
There's other stuff about this guy when he starts talking, and he amazes me. Okay. And then when somebody said, well, he didn't really do what? I mean, what are you talking about, man? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, do I have to leave this conversation and, and some other guy wouldn't have got the chance if he didn't look like Steve Kerr. Stop it, I said. This guy's brilliant, man.
Yep. Yep.
And if it takes, not everybody could, for example, even have the stamina to read the Bible, I would say, for example, okay? And if you're going to talk to Steve Kerr, well, excuse me if it sounds arrogant, but you got to come with something to sit at the table with that guy. If you have something and you sit down with him, you're going to understand his brilliance. But if you can't even read, there's no need to go to the library if they have.
There you go.
I mean,
Yep.
but so I don't want to hear this stuff,
Yeah,
And
I'm with you.
in that way, for all of my humility, there are strands of arrogance that I will have, okay? And, and this is one of them, for example. I will tell somebody else, not you or that guy sitting with you or me, we haven't earned the right to talk like that about some of these guys. You can say, fans have to, people have to have their input because that's what makes the world go round. But there's a limit to it. You don't call this guy an idiot. You don't call this guy a bum who's playing in the NBA. There are no bums in the NBA. That's right. There are none. There are no bums in the EuroLeague. All those coaches that you see there, they're out there, man.
That's right.
I mean, they're out there. I mean, even as much as you've seen, I guarantee you, Scott, if you sat down and watched some of these guys' practices, you would not fall asleep 1 second.
That's right.
They're on it 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would be stunned if you would see one of those guys and say, oh, yeah, okay, let's go get some coffee now. No, you wouldn't do that, man. It would stimulate your brain beyond belief. I mean, a lot of it you probably have already seen, but still they might do a little bit different, or just the way they put it in and the way,
that's right,
the order
with their
they
own
put it
personality.
in.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, it's fascinating, man.
Well,
but
Coach,
now, listen, do you have some questions for me, my man? Because
I do, because think about, you hear a lot about, the analytics. How do you think analytics has kind of changed or evolved the way that we coach or the way that the game is played?
I mean, if you have a statistical truth, it's hard to deny that, okay? But what I always say about the analytics is there's another reality which you should not deny either, okay? I mean, I remember when some of the NBA guys, I think the guy was from the Clippers. I forget his name now. That's terrible there.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, he said, you're going to see that the pull-up is coming back again, the mid-range.
Yep.
And I said, the mid-range should actually be easier when guys are driving so hard and they're shooting so far away from the basket. You can't just say that the mid-range is not there anymore. I mean, so I wouldn't let analytics run completely wild with me, but I wouldn't deny them either, okay?
Yep.
I won't deny them either. And, I mean, if the space on the floor to me cannot determine if it's a good shot. It depends on the guy who's shooting the ball and his ability to do that in that situation. Hey, if we're honest, some of the shots that Stephen Curry takes are bad for 80% of the players.
Yep.
Not for him.
Right. That's right.
And, I hear people saying that they hate analytics. Well, I don't go there, okay? I mean, if you can show me that there's certain things. Hey, when I grew up, the most difficult shot in the game was the corner shot. And now suddenly it's a high percentage shot,
Yeah. I say,
well,
I'm
not
with you.
Take it away because it was a low percentage shot when I played.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think the analytics has its place as long as you can take those analytics that you have the players that fit your style and system and philosophy, and then you use those analytics to put those players in that position, or your offensive systems are fitting where your proficiencies are coming from. I think if you can incorporate the two of those, then I think you've got something that's going to be useful. But the eye test and those analytics don't measure a player's heart. And I think if you've got a guy with competitive nature or what they call a high motor now, well, you're supposed to play hard. You're supposed to give everything you've got. But yet, you know what? Let's just play smarter and do something that's going to make your teammate better. Now you're getting a mix of all of it to where now the rubber is going to meet the road, and now you're going to get progression.
You hit it, because as soon as you go outside of being organic, really, you have trouble then. And blind faith to analytics can make you robotic. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe your guy
Amen.
just doesn't really have that,
Yep.
So
Yep.
why are you going to make him do something that's against him? I mean,
That's right.
like you said to that guy, I used to say to my players in one of the teams I had, look, you are a guy that I want to take a last shot, or not just a last shot. If we're down 5 and we need to score now, I want you to. But you know what? I don't care what kind of shot it is. I want you to shoot it.
That's right. Because hey,
So,
you shooting from here is going to be 80% better than him shooting from over there at 50%. We need that shot, and you need to recognize that situation. That's I tell my son that all the time. Oh yes.
Some of my guys would say, I don't want a staggered screen. Okay, what do you want? I want a wide pin down so that I can do this. This is how I'm the most comfortable. Fine, wide pin down it is.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
care.
right.
You know?
Hey, and think about it. And if he believes in it and he feels it's going to work, then let's go with it, because he's going to have more confidence within that. That's right.
You want to keep, the defense is trying to take you out of your comfort zone. You're trying to keep the player in his comfort zone. Well, if the defense is trying to be disruptive, and then you, as the coach, are also disruptive by making him do something that he doesn't feel comfortable with,
setting him up to fail.
well, you've cut down the chances of success.
That's right. Setting
You
him
tell
up for
me
failure.
where you're the most comfortable.
Yeah.
And let's go with that.
Wow.
And then if it's not working,
right.
we can revisit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But don't start, with uncomfort. Then you got to find the comfort zone. Let's start with where you think the comfort zone is, and then we can tweak it if we have to.
There you go. I love it, Coach. This is great. Just talking the game and talking basketball knowledge, because again, you say you started slow and were inferior to it, but I just love the whole mindset that you have behind it, because think about it. National team coach, Danish team, the Swedish national team, playing in the ULEB, the Korach Cup, being at Maccabi. You've been around some of the highest level of basketball, even though it may not be what is sexy here in America. Come on, Coach, you've been there, you've done that, and to hear these stories that you have in your experiences, man, people are crazy not to, be like a sponge and soak up this knowledge from you.
Well, that's quite a compliment. I actually had some other things about that I was, like if you're not first, you're last mentality that we put on our kids and stuff like that. And I don't like one of my most treasured medals is a bronze, and they called it the Euro Challenge. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I was coaching a team in Cyprus. We went to the Final Four. First time a team from the country had ever gone to a Final Four. We lose the first game. Okay. And we were playing at home on the island. We lose the first game. So we're not going to play for the gold or the silver. We're going to play for the bronze. We come to practice, and management calls me in, completely eviscerate. They just, my assistants and the players thought they were going to fire me on the spot. Seriously. And come back, we get ready, and we're going to play for the bronze. And I said, listen, if we win this game, you're going to be so satisfied and proud of yourself. If after losing like that, it was, we played on the island, it was packed, if you can come back after this disappointment, I guarantee you, you're going to treasure that bronze. And we won the game, and it was true, man. After being down like that, we won that bronze medal, and it was a bronze medal in a European competition. I remember we came to the press conference before, and one of the guys said, "But is this really a good Final Four? There's no Russians. No, there's no Russian, Spanish, Russians, or Greeks." And I said, "You know why? We knocked them out. That's why they're not here. We beat them. We beat St. Petersburg in St. Petersburg. That's why they're not here. So stop that,
Yeah.
And that bronze medal, and it meant a lot. I tell kids all the time, you might not win all the time. You might not start. You might not be the best guy. Sly might not make it to the EuroLeague, but he's a pro, man.
That's right.
He's done something.
Yeah.
Don't stop, either you're the champion or you're garbage stuff. It can't be like that.
Right. Yeah.
There has to be something to the journey and all this stuff.
That's right. And Coach, with you saying that, I think about even though it wasn't a lot of great success, how they would measure success, but I can remember coming in. I replaced a Serbian coach at in Germany in the Bundesliga, which I know you know that league well, and I think you might have coached at as well.
Yeah.
But I came in. I was hired in October, and the team was losing by 45, 60 points a night. And I can remember at the time, there in Germany, Wendell Alexis was with Alba Berlin. They were a top 8 team. And before I got there, the team had lost to Alba Berlin by 65. We made a few adjustments with personnel. We played Wendell Alexis and Alba Berlin. We lost by 4 before they lost by 65, and I saw progress. I'm like, we're getting closer. We're getting there. And we had guys that gave everything they had, played as hard as they could, and we were getting better. But yet, just because we still didn't get over the hump and beat a top 8 team with Wendell Alexis and Alba Berlin, I was so proud of that team. And to me, knowing that we were within 4 points and basically, was tied with 1 minute and 45 seconds to go, that was some of my best coaching that nobody ever saw. And I'll never forget those things like that.
Hey, listen, Wendell, he was a monster, man.
That boy could play.
Oh, no, he was really good, man. I mean, he was one of the top guys over here then.
Yeah.
Well, he was really a nice player.
Yeah. So isn't it amazing how, what expectations are and some unrealistic, goals that other people had set that they thought was going to be successful. But I was so proud of that team because, they were on a very low budget at the time. I was proud that we kept them from relegation. So to me, it was success and we did a good job. But yet that's not one of those things on the resume that people look at and go, wow, he did a great job. Right. But yet, because of that experience, I got to have a great relationship with the people at Inter Performances, which was, Lucky Capicchione, his son Manny, and, all the European talent they had. But Coach, I just think of the journey, like you said, through this sport and the successes or, things where other people measure what success should be, that, man, people don't even have a clue what that process was to get them to where they were.
So now when you mention that team, now my mind went off. That team was a really good Alba Berlin team.
Yeah.
That would have been an incredible victory. Like you said, I mean, to go down to the wire, because, this is not in the European basketball, as opposed to the way it could be in the NBA, there's no luck in stuff like you can't hang with Albert Berlin like that by luck. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't do it. I mean, you were absolutely right to think we're doing something, because you have to. It's 40 minutes. It's tighter windows. The game is controlled in another kind of way. You won't have somebody like Harden going off for 50, just carrying you to something crazy.
Yeah.
You to hang that, and that team was good, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
That
what I'm
team
saying.
was
And that's when
really
the
good.
Frankfurt Skyliners were just coming in. I think you coached the Frankfurt team, and you and I, we got to coach the same player. I think you and I both got to coach Eric Chatfield.
Yes.
I had Eric in Lebanon, and I think you had him with the Frankfurt team. But man, guys like that just make us look like better coaches right from the
Yeah,
jump, don't
yeah.
they?
No, I mean, them but when you say that about Wendell, Alexis, and that team, and
Ooh,
I can
wait.
imagine what a game that must have been,
Oh, it was fun.
because again, like I said, you can't stumble and into competing with a team like that. The games, you know what I mean? The game's
Yeah.
just different, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
you
I
can't
think of
just
the local players that they had. I think, of course, national team players, Elijah and Hendrik Rodel, and I think he's coaching now. But what a fun time and what a great atmosphere! And gosh, we were right there. And just the fact that they didn't pull away from us. We had to commit a couple fouls. They hit their free throws, but man, we were right there. But yet, you know what? There's nothing sexy about it. There was not any of this hoorah. But boy, was that a lot of fun! And I'm sure if you jogged your memory, there's probably games like that you lost that were just as important and valuable with the evolution of the team, even though you may not have won a championship. Have you got an experience like that?
yeah, with Real Madrid, with Obradovic was coaching Real Madrid,
Yeah, yeah.
and we came there, and we they were blowing us out, and we came back. He took Bodiroga out of the game,
Oh, ooh,
and I said,
there's a player.
to the guys, "This is our last shot here. Just go for the fences, you know. Just go for the fences." He's taking those guys out. He's smug. He's not. I look at him. He's prancing over it. Let's go for it. And all of a sudden, we took the lead. And I kept looking at him. Are you going to put them guys back in or not? Like he almost didn't want to do it. But in the end, he had to, because we were playing for first place in the group.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that was the same year I met David. David's team was in there. We was in there. Real Madrid was in there. We were playing for first place in the group
Oh,
in Madrid, and there was a Dayan came down and dropped the three on us, and I said, "God, I know he's going to do this, man, because this is him." He was not a great 3-point shooter, but he was a winner, and he did it to us. But yeah, it was like that. But that probably wasn't like your game, because we were getting blown out, and he pulled the dogs off too soon. Okay.
yeah.
And then it was almost like, it's over. I'm taking my guys out. You take your guys out, and let's let the benches play. It was sort of at that point. Okay. So we weren't staying with them like it sounds like you were doing. Okay. That sounds like yours was a better game. But you know how that is, man. It only takes a couple minutes, man.
That's right.
I
Yep.
mean, if you just delay a
One
little
possession,
bit.
one pass, one jumper.
I mean, you say that you're up 14, and all of a sudden somebody throws in a three. It's a steal. He throws in another three. They come down, miss, and you come down. You've made 9-0 in 40 seconds.
Oh
And
man.
it has changed, because he's pulled his guys. I haven't pulled my guys. Okay, well then I ain't gonna pull them.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
suddenly it's game, and then they're behind. He had to bring them back. Oh, that was
Oh.
funny, because I really became good friends with Obradovic. Okay, but not then.
Yeah, right.
He didn't speak to me then. He didn't speak to me later when we were playing, when I was with Maccabi. But when I came to Greece, he was, for some reason, he changed like that. And we became friends,
That
okay?
respect was earned.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we became friends, and he did some fantastic things for me when I was in Greece. He helped me a lot, actually,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
but it
That's
took a
cool.
long time. It was some years before. I mean, not he didn't shake hands. He didn't speak. When we played him in he played him in. I was coaching him when we played that game. He had just coaching it. Was it in Atlanta, the Olympics or something? He had Serbia and yeah.
Yeah.
So he was at the other end of the room in the press conference. I get up. They also won at the last second by Boderoga. Okay. And I got up, walked across the room, and said, "Coach, I want to shake your hand, man. That was magnificent coaching you did in Atlanta in the Olympics." Man, the guy just looked me up and down, man. I said, "He can't speak English? I mean, shall I speak Spanish or something?" He looked me from head to toe and turned to the lady next to him and said something in Spanish. And I just went and sat down. He wouldn't even shake my hand.
Oh,
I didn't know if
wow.
he was, And then this game that I told you about came later in the spring. It was the last game of the group. And he still wouldn't shake my hand. Well, I was calling him all kinds of names under my breath.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, there wasn't that many brothers running around, and there were none.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we come to Maccabi, I know he knows who I am now. Okay. He remembers me. All right. Same thing, man. He shook hands with David. He walked right by me. Okay. I said, "Man, this guy don't like me or something. What I do with this guy?" But
Wow.
then when we came to Greece, it was good, man. And then we stayed friends after that.
I like that. Well, Coach, we've got like 4 minutes left. Just two phenomenal episodes with just stories and experiences. I guess my last question would be Charles Barton now. What do you tell the coaches who are in their 20s and in their 30s? What would you say to a 30-year-old coach Charles Barton?
You mean, what would I say to them now if I met a 30-year-old coach?
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
mean, I would, the
your
first
age
thing,
now, talking to a 30-year-old Charles Barton. What would be the biggest advice for that 30-year-old coach getting into the business?
well, it wouldn't be, what would I tell myself then? I mean,
Knowing
I
what you
start,
know now.
I would tell myself that the early parts when I was screaming hysterically on the sideline and that I was really going off the way I did was wasted. It was wasted energy,
Yep.
And, I learned that lesson quickly when I went outside because now I was winning in Sweden, okay?
Yep.
But it was sort of fool's gold for me because I had the best players. I did, okay? Then when I got outside, I didn't have time to scream because I was struggling to keep up with the other guy on the other side, okay? The other coach. So I would tell myself, don't waste time with all that emotion. It's not good coaching. It's just showboating, and it's wasted anger that could go in another direction. Now, I did learn quite quickly to get rid of that. I was always open, but it wasn't, like I said, remember, like I told you in the first session, I was behind the 8 ball in the beginning, I felt the necessity to be more open and more connected to players, not because I was smart, because I had to, but I would tell myself to not be so angry, I mean, I tell people that people talk about hard coaching. What do you mean by hard coaching? What are you talking about? You're talking about bullying. That's what you're talking about. If you say the right thing, you can whisper it.
That's
you
right.
don't have to scream at somebody to get their attention. They're all different. Talk to them with some respect. And I've been disrespectful in my days. I have, I'm not ashamed of what I did because that's what I was then,
Yep.
I wasn't faking it. That was insecure Charles Barton running around and maybe got a little full of himself, maybe a little bit when you won some titles. And maybe, I don't know, but that was, there would, I wouldn't change that because I'm also not for regretting and saying I want to go back and change, because the goal is not to be perfect anyway, the goal is just to be open, see what other people can do, learn lessons from people, never stop trying to get more educated or learn something different. And that I never stop. That's how I keep myself going also, Yeah. I mean, I always have another project and another project. And I want to do this, I want to do that. My forehand's got to be better. I got to serve better. This is always something,
That's keeping you young, Coach. That's keeping you young.
Yes, it is energizing. It is,
That's right.
But anyway, my man, I got to go now because I got to get up early in a few hours and get on the train.
Coach, this has been phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, honored and humbled and privileged to have spent the last few hours here with my friend, Coach Charles Barton. We've been enlightened. We've been empowered. We're inspired. Thank you so much for sharing your time, and have nothing but love for you, and would love the opportunity to work together with you at some point, my friend. But thank you for being a guest on the show. We'll have to have you come back and share some more insights, my friend. God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott, for having me. Okay.
You got it.